and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the Georgic schoolroom is and why it exists. First of all, we're going to hear from Jared and Selena. They are the owners of this ranch. So if you guys want to come on up here and give us a speech.
Okay, so we're really grateful, first of all, that you guys could come. And we realize how very blessed we are to live where we do, to do what we do. And we know that not everybody has that opportunity. So we feel that, I'll eat the microphone. We feel that doing this is a way to be able to share what we have been blessed with. Really of in some ways, no effort of our own. We were born into it. Not that it doesn't take effort to maintain it, but why did we get a ranch and Tim didn't? When he probably wants to ranch as much as I do. But why was it? It's no doubt it's a stewardship, and that's something that's near and dear to our heart. And so we're grateful that we can share this with you, that you can come and experience a little bit of what our life looks like every day. So we had a vision a while ago that we wanted to make the ranch more of an educational center. And in 2020 we realized that we needed some things to make our life more well-rounded, to be more self-sufficient, and one of those things was the ability to be able to grow our own food. And so we reached out to William, and ultimately he came to work on the ranch, and it's been a great blessing. So if you look around at what these students have learned, they just have this thought. As you listen to them give their presentation, think about an evil and ill, something that is out of alignment in the world today, and ask yourself if coming to this class could fix that. Okay, that's your assignment as you listen to this. And I'm going to be doing the same thing. I just had the epiphany. Obviously, we can learn how to feed the world. But can we learn about world peace? Can we learn about how to get along with other people? Could we learn about how to overcome addictions? Could we be in a place where we could be more resilient and less susceptible to illness? Could we be less depressed? These are just some of the things that our family's been affected with. And so we know that, I believe that they could. And so I believe that with what we're doing here is way bigger than just the 4 students that are going to graduate, but it's the start of something that can spread. And it's up to each of us to help that to spread.
Okay, so I just wanted to thank you guys for sending your kids here. We have them. We feel like it's a selfish thing because we get to have amazing people that we get to be around a little bit, and especially that our children get to be around and see, and then have your amazing families come out too. So it's very selfish that we have you guys out here and that we're doing this, and it just has blessed our lives immensely, and we just can't thank you enough for stepping out and doing something so out of the ordinary and so not part of the regular system that most people are in. And we just congratulate you guys for doing that and taking that leap and trusting Will and everybody here and us to do something crazy like that. And it's just been such a tremendous blessing for us, and I hope that it has been for you guys as well and your families.
Hey, thanks, you guys.
Okay, now we're going to hear from my wife, Bernie Lynn.
I was born and raised on a ranch in Northern California. Now, we had an apple ranch, but we didn't wrangle apples. But we raised heirloom apples. We had 100 different varieties, and back in the 70s, when we lived there, there was, I don't know, how many of you, show of hands, how many of you have heard of Stark Brothers or bought apple trees from them or some kind of fruit tree? They're a fruit tree grower back in the Midwest. And they came to visit our ranch, and they got cuttings, and because there were apple varieties on our ranch that didn't exist anywhere else in the world. And as a little girl, I remember thinking, when I grow up and get married, I want to live in the mountains, and I want to raise my own food, and have a really nice husband. And I totally got it. I love it, it's so great. And when I lived on that ranch, I used to paint pictures and go with my mother up to the apple shanty where we sold our apples, and I would sell paintings for like 25 cents, and it was great. I loved it. But you know, life moves on, you get busy, you grow up, you go to school, and you think you have to do something that someone says is gonna make money, and you don't always pursue the farm in the mountains or the painting. And got married, we had our farm. I for a long time, I thought my mission was being William's wife, which is honestly a great mission, and I love it. But over the last year, it's been really an amazing thing. I got sick, which is not that amazing, but it kind of has been. It's been this amazing blessing in a lot of strange ways. Then over the winter, I was home and sitting down a lot because I wasn't, not feeling well and not doing so well. And I got to sit next to William as he was planning this course. And it was so out of the ordinary. It was not a calf bath. It was not a usual thing for students to do. We wanted to make sure that everything he planned was something that would be really meaningful. And we'd had students with us before, and we learned so much from them, and he learned as much from the students as hopefully he was able to share with the students. And he kept thinking of ways to improve and to change the path of what he was doing, but still teach all the important things. And I sat next to him, and I was listening to him talk so much about mission and what was important, and having a mission and having a goal and a purpose, and particularly something essential to help society. And he dwelt on this a lot through the winter. It's like, I really want my students to be able to clearly identify a societal need and find a way that they can make a difference in the world. Because as farmers, we knew that what we did always was so important. Raising food is so important. But as members of society, we just didn't feel that important. We didn't feel like this is essential or viewed as essential by the rest of our community. We thought, no, this is important. This is, in fact, it's really important. We've had different people come to our farms and our ranches over the course of our life in helping to raise food for people who have been desperate for good food for their health, their well-being, for their children. We thought, William, in his preparing for this class, he really wanted to help the students who came identify the difference that they were going to make, regardless of whether they ever go and raise another carrot or another ear of corn or another pumpkin. Be able to take from the soil the things that will nurture them, because we really believe that what is grown in the soil is individual. And so as I sat next to him and listened to his discussions on mission, and when the students arrived, and they were just four of the most amazing human beings ever, really, seriously, amazing human beings. And I've listened to them over the last 17 weeks discuss mission, and I've learned so much from them. And I've often sat at the table and painted pictures while I've listened to them talk, because I haven't been well enough to do much else. And that's been the blessing. I've been able to do something I wanted to do since I was a little girl. And I wanted to live on a farm in the mountains and raise my own food and paint pictures. And so now I'm painting pictures. And as I've listened to them prepare to have an impact in the world, to find a societal need, I had a societal need drop in my lap. I had a young man in Africa reach out to me and ask me to help him go to school. And it's been this amazing journey over the last 9 months of helping this young man go to school, but more importantly, find connections through him to other people in Uganda. And now I am helping build a school in Uganda. We actually have it built, and we have about 22 students that are signed up, and we're helping to pay for their tuition to go to school. And so I'm very much doing what I did as a young child, and I'm painting pictures. And now I'm finding a societal need that I can help too. And so you'll see over here, there's paintings, original paintings for sale, and if you're interested, I'm selling them in order to help fund a school in Uganda. We're currently working on purchasing computers for them. And one of the goals, because I just don't think you can separate education and agriculture, because we want the school to be self-funded. We're actually going to build a farm that the students will work on, and also learn how to farm, do regenerative agriculture in their own area, and be able to raise food for their community because it's such a huge need, and be able to sell it as well. So it's wonderful. Because of this school, because of the students, because of William, I've been able to find my mission too, and live my mission. And I'm so grateful for you sharing your children with us and trusting us with their well-being and their education, and for them trusting us as well, because it's been a beautiful journey, and we're so incredibly grateful. I'm grateful to have them here. In fact, I gotta tell you just a little story. The other day, I couldn't get out of bed. I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't even get out of bed, and the kids came in and they sang me a song, and it was the most beautiful thing. I thought, what am I gonna do when they go home? Every time they've gone home to you guys, every time they come back, I'm like, oh, welcome home. We're so glad you're back. And so we'll feel a little bereft when they go home, but come back and visit us anytime. We love all of you, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Jared and Selena. What in the world is the Georgic schoolroom? Geo means earth, or it means work. Those who work the earth in a certain way create a free society. If you have a bunch of slaves doing the work for you, it's not a free society. The Georgic tradition goes back 700 years BC to the Greeks. Our first written book was written by Hesiod, 700 years BC. He was a Greek, and he talked all about partnering with nature and the land and God. If you have that three-way connection, you create free societies. When you leave God out of it, it's no longer Georgic. The land still produces food, but eventually the society will crumble, and then a new society grows up from the remains. That's the history of the world in a nutshell. And a lot of other stuff. These guys had some life-changing experiences one day. Will was out there with the weed whacker, and he's just weed whacking away, getting rid of a whole bunch of weeds that we didn't want anymore. And he came walking over, and I was cutting some firewood, and he stopped me and he said, I think I figured out what it means to be a man. And I said, oh, you better tell me. He said, it means that I understand that I could create hell. But I understand how to make choices so that I won't. And I think he's right. Abigail is a fireball. Keep matches away from her, she's going to explode. And Bekah, the first 4 weeks of class, every morning, here's part of our class, we would sit there, and Bekah, all of us would sit there. And I would say something to the effect of, does anybody have anything they want to say today? And that meant if you were angry about something, we talk about it. If you're fascinated by something, we talk about it. It could be anything. But everything is in the very open. That's what we did every day right after we said our opening prayer. And Bekah would sit there, and Abby would say, yeah, we've been thinking about something. For the first 4 to 5 weeks, Abby was the voice for Bekah. This last week, we were going through our final test, which was one of our requirements for graduation. We just did it as a group because I hate public school models. So, well, I mean, think about it. In the public school, it's called cheating. In the real world, it's called collaboration. So let's just do it the real way. So we were going through our test, and we got stuck on 3 or 4 questions. And because Becky kept saying, wait, because we kept trying to move on. I would say, what's the next one? And Becky would say, wait, I'm not done. And we would keep talking about it. And Abigail was getting annoyed. And that's fine, because Abby has an agenda. Man, she's going to get the work done, right? And so, we kept talking about the thing so that Becca was happy, and it was a great conversation. Well, finally, Abby looks at me under her glasses. She doesn't wear glasses, but she did. In like 80 years from now, she's going to be looking at people over glasses. Well, that's the look she gave me, and she said, well, she finally found her voice now. And then there's Kirsten. I'm going to miss the music in our home because she would sing every day. And that's all I'm going to say about that, or I'll start crying. But it was very meaningful and beautiful. This was the worst gardening season I've ever had in my life in all the places I've lived. I've gardened in Hurricane, Utah, which is on the borders of the Mojave Desert. I've gardened in Missouri, which is basically the Garden of Eden for gardening. I've gardened in Oregon, which produces half the food for the country, excluding California. And so it was a great place to grow food. And Colorado, I've lived in a lot of places and we've grown food everywhere. I even grew food while I was in California for a couple of years. And this is the hardest growing season. In the month of May and June, we had 8 days of growing sunshine. Enough sunshine that it would actually really grow plants. And oh boy, I've done it now. Lifelong dream of me starting the Georgic schoolroom, and there's no sunshine. And here these guys are supposed to grow food for the last 3 weeks of class. Well, the whole time, but then that's all they can eat. The last 3 weeks of class is what they eat. It's what came out of the garden. But they're gonna starve to death. That's what I was thinking. But they grew food. See the harvest table over here? They had a lot of food. It was great. They were all worried about starving to death, so when you open our fridge, stuff falls out these last 3 weeks. It's been remarkably beautiful. Is anybody hungry? Abigail, were you hungry this last 3 weeks?
No, sir.
Kirsten, were you hungry? Will, were you hungry? Bekah?
No.
They were well fed from their gardens. It was fantastic. We talk about a lot of weird things in our class. One of them is modern environmentalism. And I say absurd things like global warming is real. I shouldn't say things like that because people don't know what I'm talking about because they have no context. So I apologize to those of you who have heard me say weird things. So let me clean the slate here about environmentalism. Modern environmentalism has it completely wrong. There, the slate's clear. Now I can move on. The Georgic schoolroom has it right. And I'm going to show you why, real quick. What is this Georgic schoolroom? This is a place where people can come and be taught by Mother Nature. Outside is the teacher. I just facilitate. I haven't taught these guys one thing. Nature is the teacher. We believe something. We believe that we become more human the more we read and the more we write. Reading and writing, probably singing, and playing music. Those are the things that make us human. The more we do it, the more human we become. This is what we focused on. We also focus very much on ecological literacy. Ecological literacy is the big problem in our world today. If you went to New York City and saw millions of people on the streets, I would guess that you could go 5 days seeing hundreds of thousands of people and never meet one of them that is ecologically literate. It is the biggest plague in our world today. But you came here today to honor these 4 students who are well on their way to ecological literacy. So that's pretty awesome. One of my favorite quotes is, "By their fruits ye shall know them." So we focus on things that have been happening in agriculture. Some of these things have been happening for thousands of years. Some of these things are new ideas and new scientific discoveries. But we focus on the things that give us the very best results. And so we're going to show you what that is right now. Biodynamics. They have the very best soils in all of agriculture. Ray Archuleta is one of our very top soil scientists in the world over his career in the USDA. He took thousands of soil samples, and he had to redo his chart because he had outliers when he went to the biodynamic farms. He had to rebuild the computer program, the chart, because all your soil samples are down here, the bad ones on the bottom, the good ones on the top. The biodynamic farms were way up here somewhere. And he had to rebuild the chart so he could put them on there. And so people ask him, well, what are they doing? Let's do that. And he says, I can't explain what they do. But it's called biodynamics. But it doesn't fit into the common reductionist science that we learned in university or the colleges. It's very different. And so if you want to learn more about that, ask your loved one that came to honor today. The very best ecological design is permaculture. If you want to be able to have the most beautiful landscape out there and have it be ecologically beautiful so you get the most nutritious food in the world, then you want permaculture design. We don't need this anymore. Somebody come fix this. Hello? The power went off. What, Kirsten? I can't hear you. Oh, baby, unplugged it. Come here, child. That is fantastic. I'll jump to the end of my speech. The true citizen is the human, the real citizen. And that's what Georgic is all about. So we can let babies unplug this stuff all day long. That's fantastic.
I like that he didn't know it was the baby, but the rest of
Hello.
us saw it coming.
It's working again.
Wait, go back to that picture. That was marvelous.
Yeah, it's gonna get good here in a minute. Watch out. You gotta get through the boring stuff first. The very best civilizations is Georgic. The ancient people, like I said, the ancient Greeks, they started it. Virgil writes the word Georgic, coins the term, and that was 700 years later. Of course, Virgil lived at the time of the Romans. Well, we won't go into all the fancy history, although I love it. But if you want a great civilization, you study Georgic. Where do you go to learn that? Well, you come to the Georgic schoolroom, and there's other places. But if go to Victor Davis Hanson, look up his work. He's got some fantastic books. If you actually want to read it, ask me afterward. I'll tell you what the books are. And it will get you on a journey to understand how a civilization is built and made and why that matters. The very best ecological literacy is called holistic management. So we combine these 4 studies, and I don't know anybody else who's doing this in the world. You got the biodynamic people, and they're excited. You've got the permaculture people, they're excited. They'll have all these, their own, seminars and all this stuff. You can go to the World Biodynamic thing. And they kind of talk down about everybody else. Say, well, I'm a permaculturist. And they say, oh, you gotta come be biodynamic. And if you go to the permaculturists, they say the same thing about them. They all have the very best results. We need to quit fighting and unite. That is the key. We need to unite on this stuff. Woo! I'm gonna tell you about the graduation requirements here. This is the picture of our classroom. That's how our class looked every day, Monday through Friday. I was jumping up and down screaming about something, and they laughed a lot. That was pretty much our class. The number one requirement is they had to read my book, Worry-Free Eating. If you haven't read this book, get it and read it. It's good. Last year in the winter room, I finished this up. I started writing 2 years ago, but I've been working on it my entire life. I grew my own first garden when I was 12 years old. My dad said, okay. And I did. And we had the majority of our food that year. Of course, he'd been mentoring me for 12 years to do that. So it made sense. But this is the book that is required for this class. Now, just a little point about the students. They all came to me individually and sometimes in class and said, we want to read more stuff. And so collectively, there were probably 30 books read, maybe more than that. Abby probably read 30 alone. But there was a lot of education going on here this year. It was pretty fantastic. The next requirement is you had to eat from your garden the last 3 weeks of class. So they prepared a menu the first week. And then they prepared a garden plan that would grow enough food to fill their menu. And then they grew their garden all summer with me mentoring them and them being scared they were going to starve to death. I was too. I already told you about the weather. And then the last 3 weeks of class, there's one sample of the food that they prepared. Every time they were preparing food the last 3 weeks, I was like, take pictures of that. Because they were good cooks, and it was beautiful and wonderful, and Will hated cooking. And he kept saying, I liked it before when we had big dinners together. It wasn't supposed to be you have to cook your own food. You just have to eat from your garden. I thought they were going to go out there on all fours and graze like a sheep. But they actually brought the food in and cooked stuff, so I don't know what to do about that. Another requirement for graduation is to create a project that would serve humanity. And so I had these guys write down on a piece of paper, what is your personal interest, your gift, your talent, your passion, your purpose of life, your personality traits? What are the things that make you you? And how could you use those things to do something? And then another piece of paper, write down all the problems in the world you can think of, and then pick one of those problems to use your gifts, talents, and all that stuff to serve that need, that societal need. And they all came up with something. They're going to show that with us today a little bit. Another graduation requirement is we had rigorous oral examinations. There was a whole bunch of stuff they had to learn. They had to learn the soil health principles. They had to learn the 8 organism groups that make a functioning soil. And I don't have time to tell you it all, or I'll be up here for 30 minutes. But there were all these things they had to learn, and then they had to stand up there, no notes, from memory. I was bearing down on them, mean and scary, with manure all over me and dirt. Run! This is the first time I've combed my hair in months. And they all passed because they're graduating today. So these guys know a lot more than they think they do. Another graduation requirement was to have fun. And there were several times when I said, in fact I said it this week, I said, I will not tolerate you beating yourself up. We have fun in this class. Whoa! Another graduation requirement is practicing mindfulness. The very best chapter in this book is all about mindfulness. The word even made it on the front cover, a mindful food production book. What is mindfulness? You got to read the book to find out. We don't worry about the past. We're not worried about the future. We're letting Mother Nature and the earth teach us what is happening right now. Because if you think about it, the only thing we have in this life is the present moment. We don't have lunch that we had an hour and a half ago. That's history. We don't have what's happening in 5 hours from now. That's in the future. What are we doing right now to make good choices, to love someone who needs loved? Or clean something that needs cleaned? Or build something that needs to be built? We use 4 methods of learning, and my students have never even seen this chart yet, and I'm not going into this very much. But we use the scientific method to learn new things. We use the academic method to further what we learn. We used the analytical method that compared the things that we learned, and we used the divine method. When you really need an important answer, go straight to the source and ask God, and then live your life in a way that you can get an answer. So, there's that. Y'all wait a minute, people are taking pictures. But these are the methods we used in the Georgic schoolwork, and it appears to be effective because our graduates are graduating. The other thing we use, and I don't expect you to see this from way back there, but these are the original sources. All my information came from the great people that are on this list, and others. But if they made it on this list, they had significant impact in what we teach in this class. So we have the people who have made the huge impact in the scientific breakthroughs we have now, like Ray Archuleta and Elaine Eham, some of the greatest scientists alive today. We have the greatest gardeners alive today, like Charles Dowding and Paul Gauci. We have the great people who were passed away, but their work was so fantastic, nobody's tore it down for hundreds of years. You know, like, what the heck is his name? It's on there somewhere. He's the guy in England, Lancelot Brown. So, they're on this list. If you need this list, I'll send it to you. But these are the people we study in the Georgic schoolroom. I identified a societal need a few years ago. In 1992 to 1995, I served a mission for the church, and I went to Southern California, and I had culture shock because I grew up in Hurricane, and they were 100 years behind the times. And then I ended up in Los Angeles area, and it was strange to me because there was a huge recession, and people were saying, "We lost our job." And these are people with $1 million houses and 5-car garages, and it was a standard of living I didn't comprehend. And then the bishop was buying them food because they didn't have a job. And I couldn't figure it out. It didn't make sense. And it was fascinating and beautiful that ecclesiastical people would help people out in need. We need to be doing that. But the point I'm making is, why didn't they grow their own food? I grew food for my family when I turned 12 years old. Why would you go to the store and buy it? And so it was so crazy. So while I was on my mission, there was this thing brewing in my head, this idea. I could teach people how to do this. And by the time I was done with my mission and came home, I realized this is a lost art. Costco is the new garden. We don't eat from gardens. We eat from the grocery store. And so that was a long time ago. I just turned 50 this year. Last year I finally started this. I've been brewing on this for decades, figuring out how to do this, and now I have the opportunity, so it's been awesome to be able to do this. So the Georgic schoolroom is me fixing a societal problem that I identified many, many years ago. This is the last May. This is May. You're recognizing yourselves in this picture. This is May when parents were still dropping people off 2 days before class started, and I'm already screaming about all this stuff. I'm so excited. So this is the day that, and there's the students, there's parents in this picture. They went from this up here of being completely ecologically illiterate, like most of us are in this world, and that's okay. It's the world we live in. We need to forgive that and learn. They went from ecologically illiteracy to ecological literacy. If I dropped these 4 off with maybe a group of 20 other capable people who would listen into a desert, they would survive because they know how to turn a desert into a food-producing place, whether it's a forest or a grassland or whatever. They have the tools to do that. The ancient Greeks believed that the real harvest of the soil was the good citizen. And that is the entire point of the Georgic tradition. This Georgic schoolroom is about creating humans. Not animals who run around on 2 legs, because there's people that way today, but we want to be good citizens. We want to be true humans. That is the purpose of the good citizen. Now we're going to hear from Kirsten Jensen. Come up here and give your speech. These students are they're going to be sharing with us a few of the things they learned here.
All right, I want to start off by thanking you all for being here. I'm so excited to share what I've learned with you and share what some of my goals are for the future. I want to thank everyone that supported me and helped me to get to this point. I want to thank my family for being amazing and for loving me. And I want to thank William for being such an amazing mentor and teaching me so much this summer. I want to thank Bernie for being so sweet and amazing and always being there to talk to. I want to thank my classmates for being the wonderful people that I got to learn with this summer. And yeah, I want to thank God for helping me through all this. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself. My name's Kirsten Jensen, like you just said. I'm the oldest of 5 girls. I like singing, dancing, like music a lot. I like being outdoors. I like hiking and camping and pretty much anything outdoors. And I love gardening. So as far as previous gardening experience goes, I've had a little bit. The last couple years I was kind of in charge of our family garden because that's something that I've been interested in and that I was really passionate about and wanted to learn more about. And so here's some pictures of last year's garden. There's been some years where we had plants that grew 7 feet tall. They were in these tiny little dinky nursery tomato cages, and a windstorm came and blew them all over, and there was a lot of food if you could get to it. And then there's other years where the tomato plants are little and they don't do very much, and so there's a lot of varying results. But throughout all of that, gardening has just been something that I've really enjoyed and I've been passionate about, and it's something I'm always trying to learn more about. So my reasons for coming here this summer are that I think gardening and knowing how to grow your own food is an invaluable skill that I'm going to use for the rest of my life. And it's something that I want to be part of my lifestyle as I grow up and start my own family and all the things that are going to happen in life. I want that to be something that I can take with me throughout my whole life. And I wanted to know how to keep my plants healthy and to grow as much food as I could. So this summer I learned something really cool, and that is that healthy soil can produce healthy plants and healthy food without any inputs. That's no fertilizer, no pesticides to kill bugs or anything like that. Nothing. Just the soil and the seeds of the plants. They can grow healthy food without anything. And this led me to realize a problem in society. There's a lack of healthy soil in modern agriculture. And that unhealthy soil is growing unhealthy plants, which is producing unhealthy food, which we are then eating, and we are unhealthy. We're lacking the necessary nutrients to life, and people are going to bed with full stomachs but starving from lack of nutrition. But people don't know that soil's the root of the problem. How are you supposed to solve a problem if you don't know where it started or what the root of it is? You can't. So that's a big problem. So I want to show you this picture. This is roots from a plant that's grown in healthy soil. They have aggregates all over them. They are made by bacteria and fungus. They're made up of sand, silts, and clays that are clumped around the roots, and those microbes feed the plant the nutrients that it needs. And so that's what healthy roots should look like. Those are extremely healthy roots. All roots should look like that. So I want to teach you guys a little bit about healthy soil because nobody knows what healthy soil is. So let me tell you. These are the 5 attributes of a healthy soil as identified by Ray Archuleta, who's one of the leading soil scientists today. And he teaches that the soil is alive, self-healing, self-regulating, self-organizing, and unpredictable. This is important because it changes the way that we approach the soil and the way that we interact with it. So some of you might have been thinking, dirt doesn't seem to be any of those things. You're crazy. But that's because dirt isn't any of those things. Dirt is sand, silt, and clays, maybe some plant material mixed in there. And soil is all of those same things, but the key difference is that there's microbes, living microbes in the soil that are breaking down the nutrients and feeding them to plants. So these are those organisms. So all these organisms play a key role in the soil in cycling nutrients and feeding them to plants, breaking down the things that are there, all that. And the bacteria and fungi are mostly what create those aggregates on the roots, like I was showing in the other picture. And all the other guys just play crucial roles in cycling those nutrients and feeding them to plants and driving the mineral cycle. So this is the mineral cycle. Pretty much the microbes in the soil break down those nutrients and they feed them to the plants, and then the plants grow up big and strong and tall, and then one day they fall over dead, and then those microbes can decompose them back into the soil that and create them into nutrients that other plants can use. So these are the 6 spheres of the soil. This is another thing that's important to know about healthy soil. If you pick up a shovel full of dirt, you should be able to see all of these things in your soil. So let me explain them to you. The phyllosphere is the green, living, growing leaves of the plants, and this is important because there's actually microbes that live on the leaves of the plants, and they communicate with the microbes that are in the soil. And then the detridosphere is the dead plant matter that's on the surface of the ground. This insulates the ground, keeps moisture in there, and shelters the microbes. The agrotosphere is those aggregates on the roots like I was showing you. The porosphere is the holes between the aggregates, and so this allows oxygen and water and other nutrients to get down into the soil. And the rhizosphere is roots of the plants, and the drillosphere is earthworm tunnels. So that's what this picture is right here. That's the side of the worm bin. There's a bunch of little earthworm tunnels you can see. And so that's what healthy soil should look like. There should be all these things in healthy soil. And I want to tell you something else really cool that can happen in healthy soil, which is secondary metabolites. So secondary metabolites are so cool. And how it works is when there's 2 things happening in the soil, they get turned on. So when there's a lot of microbes in the soil, and when there's 4 or more plant families with their roots touching, this set of genes gets turned on in plants that allows them to be better than their normal genetic capability. So they can grow bigger and stronger, they have higher sugar levels, they taste better, they have higher nutrition levels, and they have higher disease and pest resistance. So it affects the health of your food in a large way. And so this is something that's cool. These pictures are both of cucumber leaves from different plants. First one on the top, that's my hand next to it. That was a cucumber leaf from my garden. And you can see, it's kind of little. That's a kind of regular cucumber leaf. Maybe get a little bigger than that, but not too big. And then this is also a cucumber leaf. This one was grown in a greenhouse. That's still my hand. And look at the size of that cucumber leaf. It's like huge. It's a really big cucumber leaf. So we're pretty sure that the secondary metabolites were turned on in that plant, allowing it to grow in that way. And grow so much bigger than cucumbers. So now you know what healthy soil is, but how do you create one? Because I just told you how it works and what it does and all that stuff, but how do you actually put that into your garden? So these are the soil health principles. These are the things that you can do. You can take home these things, keep them in mind, and put them in practice in your garden to get those microbes alive and functioning. So mindfulness, we'll talk about this a little bit, but just making sure that you're focusing on what's happening right now. Don't worry about what could happen or what did happen. Just worry about not worry, but focus on what is happening in your garden right now and what you can do about it. And then context is important because doing things out of context rarely works, and it's a lot of work. And so don't try to grow an apple tree on top of Mount Everest or anything that doesn't make sense in your context. Focus on things that make sense for the context you're in and what you're trying to do. No-till is important because when you till the soil, it actually kills 50% of the beneficial fungus, and it also breaks up that soil structure that holds the water in and all the micronutrients. Keeping the ground covered is important. This insulates the ground, it keeps moisture in, and it shelters the microbes, as well as feeding the microbes. And then living root in the soil is really important. So plants actually put out exudates that feed microbes and keep them alive and healthy, and you'll have a lot more microbes if you have those exudates being pumped in. Then animal impact is really cool. So people that manage their land properly with animal impact have the best soils. So that's pretty awesome. And then diversity is important. If you want those secondary metabolites turned on and your plants can just grow healthier and better, then you want as many plant families in there growing all together, and they'll be so much happier and healthier. So, like I said at the beginning of the speech, I saw a problem in society. And that was, as Josh Adams says, the elephant in the room is your microbes are dead. So that unhealthy soil was growing unhealthy plants, which is growing unhealthy food, and is creating unhealthy people. And this is affecting us in the way that we're living our everyday lives and the way that we function. So I've come up with something to do about it. What am I going to do about it, you may ask? Well, this is what I'm going to do about it. So I'm planning on starting a business in my backyard, growing plant starts in a little greenhouse that are grown in healthy soils and selling them to people in my community. I'm also planning on making compost and selling it so they can get microbes alive and active and working in their gardens, and teaching people how to keep those microbes alive and healthy and how to manage their garden and their soil so that those microbes can help them grow super healthy food. So I also want to improve the soils in my garden and my yard and take more advantage of the space that my family has and what we can grow in our space. I want to maybe experiment with some things that work in my climate and maybe some lamb-raised seed breeding and different things like that, and kind of just see what works, see what can produce the most food, the healthiest food, and then I want to share those successes that I find with people in my community so that I can help them grow healthier food. So all of these things I'm hoping will work together to help those in my community have better access to healthy food through food that they're growing in their gardens. All right, thanks for listening. Does anyone have any questions?
How will you advertise for your business? Let people know that they need this.
So I'm partially through a graphic design program right now, so I'm planning on just doing my own marketing. And with the capacity I'm able to do at first, it'll probably just be, I don't know, a couple dozen people or something. And so I'm not going to market it too large scale because I don't have the capacity to do that yet. But I'm just going to start with marketing people that I know and friends and communities that I'm in and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Word of mouth. Excellent. Go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can you come help me with my house? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Tell me when.
All right, that's Kirsten. William Zimmerman, come forward. William is going to teach us the value of cow manure.
Hello everybody, my name is Will Zimmerman and I am super happy to be here. I want to thank my parents for supporting me. I thank my classmates and William for this beautiful year we've been able to have. And I want to thank Jared and Selena for allowing us to come on the ranch and have a great learning experience. And I want to thank my God for his influence he's had on me this summer. So a little bit about myself. I am in a family of 8 kids. I have 2 brother-in-laws, a nephew, and another on the way, which makes me super excited. And the reason I came here this summer was because I wanted to learn first how to become a man. And I wanted to learn how to grow a garden for my future family. So I've always loved nature, and something that's really sad in the world today is this. You can see here that already so much of the world is desert. And the saddest part about this is that these deserts are growing. According to the world counts, over 4 million square kilometers of land is being degraded every year, and 120,000 square kilometers are turned into actual desert. Their definition of desertification is the persistent degradation of land ecosystems by human activities such as unsustainable farming, mining, overgrazing, cutting down forests, and climate change. But this is all doom and gloom. I don't want to focus on this. I want to focus on what we can do to stop this and to bring the life back into deserts. So like William talked about, there are 4 major traditions that help this. Biodynamics, permaculture, holistic management, and Georgics. Biodynamics is a holistic, ecological, ethical approach to farming, gardening, food, and nutrition. Biodynamics uses natural fertilizers and composts, and using biodynamic preps, which is and using herbs and different things to enhance the compost and give the soil and the plants what they need at that time. Like William said, biodynamics gives you the best soils in the world in farming. A biodynamic farm is a living organism. They have a wide range of life, like cows and goats and chickens and all sorts of different animals. The next tradition, permaculture, is design. Their design is to create a food forest to maximize the food you can have in a place. Their food forest consists of 7 layers: canopy layer or overstory tree layer, understory layer, shrub layer, herbaceous layer, rhizome layer or root layer, and ground cover layer, which can be mulch or organic matter, or it can be just living plants that cover the ground, and a vine layer or vertical layer. Here you can see how Jeff Lawton turned this desert landscape into a food forest that's green and living and a living ecosystem. Permaculture also uses animal impact with cattle and microbes in the soil and all sorts of other animals. The next tradition, holistic management, is created by Alan Savory. What it is holistic plant grazing. Here you can see in 2014, it's a complete desert with no leaves on the trees, no grass. And in 2014, it's changed with the grass coming back and leaves on the trees. Just shows you how much of a difference it can make with the proper management of cattle. Here's another example. 1974, you see a desert landscape again, and in 2013, it's changed with grass and trees and a living ecosystem. This next example is really cool to me. What you see here is a ranch in the Chuan Desert managed by Alejandro Carrillo. He manages his ranch with holistic management. And on his ranch on the right, you see a living ecosystem that's green and beautiful. And on the left is just some neighboring land. This shows you how much of a difference it can make when you manage cattle properly. Here's another example on Tony Molenberg's ranch. This picture is taken on the same day on a bridge that is on the border of 2 ranches. His ranch right here is much more living than the other one. So in each of these traditions I talked about the impact that cattle can make and the impact of animals that create living ecosystems. Cattle, what they do is their cow pie can help spread seeds, can provide food for the microbes, and it can shade the ground, trapping moisture. Their saliva can introduce microbes to the plant leaves. Their urine fertilizes the plants, and their hoof action breaks up the ground and it pushes down dead plants to make room for new and living green growth. Microbes are also super important for the health of the ecosystem and the soil. And the cool thing here is with animal impact, you want as much of it as you can. With cattle, sheep, goats, like you want it all, because the more living animals you have, the more the healthier living ecosystem you have. So I have to save Georgics for last because this is the experience that I've had this summer, and I wanted to share a little bit more about it with you guys. So Georgics, oh sorry, got ahead of myself. Here are the ecological processes. The energy flow cycle with the food forest, they created as much leaf surface as they could to harvest as much sunlight as they could. The sunlight hits the plants, and through photosynthesis, it puts carbon into the soil when the plants die and decompose. The carbon is important for the mineral cycle because it's the food for the microbes that mineralize sand, silt, and clays into plant-available food. Both of these ecological processes are only made possible when you have a functioning water cycle. And the cool thing about this is when you have a desert, hot air rises and it pushes the clouds away. But when you have the plants and the ground is covered, cool air rises, and that's what creates the effective water cycle because it allows the rain to come. And by understanding these principles, you can create any succession you want. You can change a desert early succession into mid-succession or late succession, depending on what your context is. So now, let's talk about Georgics. Georgics is the building of community, and the way it does this is because the Georgics builds, working with nature builds the individual into his or her unique self, and then with that, they are able to contribute to their community in their own unique way. There's a quote from William that really shows how this can happen. When we work like it depends on us and pray to God like it depends on Him, the good citizen is treated. And that's the experience I've had this summer. Georgics ties all of these three other traditions together because it's the principle that when working with nature and healing nature, nature heals us and builds us up. So, what has my Georgics experience been? How have I been built? I want to share a little bit more about that with you. So, as I said in the beginning, I wanted to learn how to become a man, and what William said about what I learned, I've learned more than that, and I've learned also that I want to have a family that is able to experience Georgics in their lives. So I want to raise my large family on a farm, and I've learned so much about what I want to do in the future and who I want to become. And the most important thing I've learned this year is I've gained a solid foundation on my Savior, Jesus Christ. And I'm excited for my future and what it will hold for me. So, thank you all for listening. Do you have any questions?
How are you going to implement this learning when you get home?
Well, when I get home, I am mostly going to focus on my education, but next summer I do plan on helping my mom a little bit with her garden. And yeah, I'm mostly just preparing for my LDS mission.
All right, there's Will Zimmerman with an S. Okay, Bekah Anderson, come forward. Don't forget to eat this mic.
Hello everyone, my name is Bekah. I'm so thankful that you're here. This summer has been an incredible experience. I am super grateful for Jared and Selena. As they mentioned earlier, they want their ranch to be a place of learning and education, And it's made a really big difference in my life this summer, so thank you so much. I want to share with you some things that I've learned as I've been here with my hands in the soil, my heart singing to heaven, and my feet in the Georgic tradition. I'm going to paint a picture for you, and I want you to keep this question in mind. When you are so happy, what is it that you're doing, and who are you? So imagine with me that you're out in nature, and you're surrounded by all of this beauty. The grassy hills and the wildflowers, the birds are singing. There's a mountain stream at your feet, and it's just gorgeous. All of the things that are around you are part of God's creation. They don't judge you. They don't expect anything from you. They're existing and filling their purpose, and they allow you to exist and fill your purpose. I'm going to shift scenes now and imagine a young woman walking across a university campus, past massive parking lots full of cars, past tall buildings covered in windows, and to crowds of people. And all throughout her life and during this transition phase where she's deciding what she's going to do and what she's going to be, she has all of these people in her life. And they're interested in her and they're asking her, what colleges have you applied to? And which one are you going to? What's your major going to be? And she's starting to get stressed out because she doesn't know the answer. And she feels like she should because there's all these people asking her. And all of her peers seem to have it figured out. So she feels like she has to have her whole life figured out right now. And she doesn't. And every time that happens, it's like someone takes a brick and they just shove it down her throat. And it just sits as this weight in her stomach. You know how much a brick weighs? You want to hold this? You want this in your stomach? This brick represents the weight of other people's expectations. That young woman was me. And it's a lot of other people as well. Something that I experienced, a brick that I ate, I was embarrassed to say that I wanted to be a mom. And it's still kind of hard for me to say because the message that I get is this: a mom? You don't have to just be a mom. Don't let that limit you. You have so much more potential than that. There are a lot of messages going around. There are a lot of bricks. And I think it's a problem. So let me tell you what I think we can do. I think that we can recognize the brick and say, okay, this is the message that I'm getting. For example, take a teenager in a homeschooling family. Perhaps the message that they're getting is that they should know XYZ about American history and have all of their times tables memorized. After all, they are 14, 16, whatever it is. So recognize that that is the message that you're being told, and decide if you agree or if you disagree. Maybe you agree and you say, I think I should learn some stuff about American history. I'm going to ask my parents. I'm going to figure out how to learn. It doesn't have to be accompanied by all of the negative self-talk. Or perhaps you disagree and you can say, I actually think that how I am right now, with everything I know and everything I don't know, I'm acceptable. And at the same time, I want to continue learning, and I'm super excited about science, so I'm going to do this project. We don't have to eat the bricks. We can be ourselves. Sometimes it's hard because it can be embarrassing. I see this in myself. I see this in people I know. We're eating bricks left and right, and it causes people to wear masks, to be embarrassed about who they are, and to be something they're not. And I'm saying, we don't have to eat bricks anymore. I think that we can create a culture like this, where the things around us don't judge us, where we love each other for who we are, and we can express ourselves, because that is awesome. All summer, William has been teaching us about how to take a desert and turn it into the Garden of Eden. And I think that we can take the desert places that we share, where we don't feel like we can be ourselves, and turn them into the Garden of Eden as well. The thing about a plant in this scenario is it's really smart. When plants grow, they know what they need. Take, for example, a sunflower. When a sunflower is growing, it says, okay, I need this much nitrogen, I need this much iron, and I need this much magnesium, and all of the other things. And in its roots, it puts out exudates into the soil that call the microbes to it, that give it the nutrients that it needs to grow and do its beautiful sunflower thing. And a cool thing about sunflowers, after the disaster at Chernobyl and the bombs at Nagasaki and Hiroshima, they planted fields of sunflowers because a sunflower is bioremedic, which means that as it grows, it takes the toxins out of the ground and it actually purifies the soil. And where do we see sunflowers often growing? We see them along roads and highways. When cars drive, it blows all of the gunk to the sides, snowplows go by, and sunflowers grow there. They love it, they thrive there. They know that that's the soil that they can grow in to heal, because they know what they are. So what are you? Who are you? Let's go back to that question at the beginning. When you are just so happy, when it's the moment of fulfillment and it's just amazing, who are you and what are you doing? What is that soil that you are growing? Something about me is that let me tell you about myself. I'm Bekah, and I'm a woman. I want to be a wife and a mother. I want to raise my kids on some kind of land. And after graduation is over, I want to go home, and I want to take everything that I've learned this summer about ecology and help my family's garden, prepare it for the winter, and prepare it in the spring. And next summer, I'm going to come back here and help William with his students, because I love to teach. I think it's incredible when there's someone that I know that I can help because of who I am. And I don't want to eat bricks anymore. I used to be the young woman who let myself be force-fed bricks. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be the person who forgives the person who gave me a brick, and forgives our society for being the way that it is. And I'm going to find the soil that I can grow in to heal because of who I am, and so can you. Any questions? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bekah. Abigail, Levi, come forward.
It's a blessing and a curse to go last, because I'm like feeling so emotional about all of my students. They're my fellow students, classmates, they're so amazing. And if anything has happened this year, I've built the greatest friendships ever. And I'm so grateful for them. I am also very, very grateful to be here. Today I want to talk about the possibility of success. And I want to talk about this because I have been mentored by the most amazing people, and I want to thank Jared and Selena for allowing us to be here and for mentoring me. It's not just being here on the ranch. I've seen their example. I've hung out with their kids. I've been able to see the way that they manage and the way that they love the land and the way that they serve God. So thank you. And same with Bernie and William. You are incredible people, and I have been mentored through your example of your stalwartness and the strength that you have taught me that is possible and that I can find as I build a foundation on Jesus Christ and on the communities around us. And I want to thank my parents because they have been incredible mentors to me as well. Today I want to talk about finding mentors and becoming mentors. First, I want to share, like I said, my parents are amazing. This is my family. I grew up in Utah in different places, but we landed in Spanish Fork, and we run a bakery called Abigail's Oven. And and we sell 7 different kinds of sourdough, and all of us have helped in lots of different ways. My siblings are involved, and we have grown together in the Georgic tradition, not so much in the soil, but as we have worked together to create an amazing community. And it's been incredible because of the lessons that I've learned. I am who I am today, and I am so grateful for this young woman that I've become, and I have so much to learn and so much to grow. I love sourdough, and something that happened earlier this spring, I think it was spring, kind of midsummer, Tim and Peter Jenkins came up and I taught them how to make sourdough. And I had been introduced to all the different things in soil and how to create a functioning soil. And I realized they're so similar. And I have learned and been mentored from Mother Nature on the principles of growth and becoming the best person that you can be. So I want to share a little bit about my garden. I have shared with a lot of my friends back home, a lot of my peers who want this kind of experience about my experience here in the Georgic tradition, Georgic schoolroom, and I've showed them some of the things I've grown, and they're like, whoa, Abby, that's so awesome. This looks so cool. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's really awesome. I did that. And then I said, wait. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. I had a very little part in creating the beauty that you see outside. I didn't create that, but I did help to create the circumstances where a seed could grow to become something wonderful. This is a bean seed. This is a cotyledon and the true leaf. If you look really close, there's these 2 little leaves. That is a seed that has incredible potential. It has all the genetic knowledge and everything it needs inside of it to grow to be an amazing plant. It's incredible. There's so much detail. God has created beautiful things in nature that know what to do. The land knows what to do. Animals know what to do. And our role as humans is to create the circumstances and the conditions and to help steward this potential to build the beauty and to fulfill what it already knows what to do. But something you can't do is this seed is on the table. You can't just yell at a seed and say, hey, grow! Come on, grow! Like, become a flower. Come on, baby plant. It won't grow. And so what we have to do is we have to learn and we have to understand what are the right conditions. What are the right conditions for that potential to be realized? This summer, I've had incredible epiphanies where I realized there's patterns in nature and there's patterns that correlate with the patterns in our lives. Just like the sourdough and the garden, I was like, whoa, these have so many similar principles. It's the same with our life. And I realized that each of us is like that seed. We're all like this true seed. We have an incredible potential within us. We have a divinity inside of us and a potential that can grow into the amazing person, like Bekah said, like having the space to be yourself and becoming just like Bekah. She's my role model. She's like incredible. And I'm so grateful that I have had the space this summer to become closer to who I want to be and learn more about that. I've had the space and the conditions to grow, and that was caused because I had an incredible mentor, William DeMille, and I had the earth and God. So I noticed a need in society. There's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of great seeds. There's amazing people in this world, especially my age, my peers. But they're discouraged. There's a lack of hope. They don't know where to turn. They don't know the next steps. They have unanswered questions. They're in a society like a table. They're being yelled at with given bricks, like Bekah was saying, and they're saying, grow, you have so much potential. You can do anything you want. You're like, okay, but how? I don't feel like I have that. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. And so they are searching for hope. I was searching for hope, and that's how I've seen it, and I've seen it in my peers. This is Peter. He works here on the ranch, and one day we had to connect a hose to one of the gardens, and we were 4 feet short, and it was like, this is his face. This is literal. He didn't pose. Like, I was just taking a picture of him just being like, what do we do? Oh no, we don't have 3 feet. William. We're 3 feet short. What do we do? And I wanted to make an analogy that this is a lot of young people today. They're in a place where they know that they want to have a family. They know they want to grow to be a great individual and make an impact in the world. To do something they love, and make a difference. But they don't know how. And they don't know what the next step is. And here's William. He's amazing, and he said, "Hey, actually, I could just take this hose and we're gonna make connectors on it, and we're gonna just create 3 feet extra or 4 feet extra hose. And we're gonna solve your problem." Oh, technology. Almost there. There we go. He's like, "We're gonna solve your problem, and look, by working together, we experienced the possibility of success. And we were able to succeed in actually getting the hose connected, and now it had water." And I believe that there is the possibility for success for those young individuals who are needing hope and who want answers. They need help. We can work together as a team to change discouragement into hope and opportunity. There are a couple ways that I have found that we can do that. Community is a big piece of them, but what I have found in my life, and especially for young people my age, is the mentor-mentee relationship. And at first I was like, okay, well, then you have to go to school and find a mentor. And that's hard because we have a system that's not necessarily focused on a mentor-mentee relationship. It's a student-teacher relationship. And I realized that there's actually a lot of multiple ways that we can be mentors and mentees in our life. And it doesn't have to look like an 18-year-old and an old person that has lots of knowledge because he's had like 30 years of experience in the garden or something like that. But it can also be in the workplace. It can also be in our religious atmospheres. It can be in whatever community and structure you have. You can become a mentor and you become a mentee and teach things that you are learning and help other people to grow, because you can help create the right conditions for them to look inside of themselves and see that potential and realize it and experience the possibility of success. One of them I've seen in our business is an entrepreneur-intrapreneur relationship. An entrepreneur is someone who has a vision that can create something that's awesome and create value and contribute to their community. An entrepreneur is someone who's like, whoa, that's a really good idea. I love sourdough. It's great. Sourdough's the best. Not just sourdough, but whatever it is, they can take that and say, hey, I have some skills inside of me, and I realize that you have this dream. I want to help that make. I want to help make that possible. I want to make that dream a reality. Let's participate together in the possibility of success. And so I've seen that. And so my solution to the need that I've seen is to find your mission, find what you love, when you're happy and what you feel is meaningful in your life, what you're doing, and then find a mentor that can help you with that, or find an entrepreneur, or find a workplace or a condition where you can grow to be the best at that you can possibly be and realize that potential. William always says, hurt yourself and learn something. It's gonna take work. You gotta go do the research, go find a mentor. Go find someone who has experienced something that can help you with where you're at that time. That's gonna take a lot of reflection. It's gonna take mindfulness. You need to read William's book. He talks about mindfulness, and it's not just about gardens. It is about gardens, but it's also about creating the right circumstances and conditions for you to grow to be the best person that you can be. So hurt yourself and learn something. William has said that the gardens are the perfect medium for human development, healing from trauma, and finding the simple joy in life. And I really do believe that gardens are just an analogy of community. And when we help each other, we can create all of these things and find the simple joys in life. Get rid of that discouragement. I found hope and possibility of success as I realized that we have different strengths and talents that we can all contribute together and work in a community as a whole. I realized that I want to be an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, and I realized that when we have compassionate communication with each other, and when we really see that each of us has needs, and each of us is in a place of experiencing life, then we can have empathy towards each other, and we can communicate compassionately to help that possibility of success be a reality. So, my plan, I'm super excited about it. I have realized that when I help, people's needs are met, and I've helped with that, I can't stop smiling. It's the most amazing thing ever. When someone has a need and it's met, like today, my sister, she got a bee sting, and there was a bunch of people like, oh, you could do this to help them, and all this stuff. That's amazing to me. We can help solve each other's problems. We're not alone. We don't have to have discouragement. We can work together to create a beautiful place. And we can find hope. And so what I've decided that I'm going to do is I'm going to be an entrepreneur in a great entrepreneurial endeavor with William DeMille. Me and Bekah are going to both come back next summer, and I'm super excited about it, and I'm going to help to market and help to compassionately communicate and connect people that are looking for a good mentor in what William has to offer to him, because he's a stellar mentor, and I think that I have some talents that are growing that can help to do that. I have learned this summer, and I'm still learning this, that all my life I wanted to help people. And I think I need to change, and I want to focus more on helping people instead of just helping people. And that has been a huge mindset for me, mindset change, a huge paradigm shift. It's about the people around you, and the way we communicate matters. And the way that we see the potential like that seed, the way we can create the right circumstances is important, and it takes effort and it takes mindfulness. And I'm so excited to help create an environment for next year's students where they can realize their potential. If you want to learn more about this, William has a great website that I'm helping to build, and it's called the Georgic Revolution. And if you have any other questions or you want to help create this possibility of success, please come out and reach out to me, because there's amazing things happening, especially here on the ranch, but all over. These amazing individuals are doing great things. I think everyone got a picture. Thank you. Questions? Oh, yes, come on.
What's an idea off the top of your head to help with marketing?
With marketing? Oh, for you guys? For like other people?
For helping people to see that genius of Georgic.
Yes. Oh, that's a great thing. Something that you can do is share your experience here with on the ranch. We have a great website. I can send you some things, but what you can do is you can go comment and share your experience, kind of like a review kind of thing. So when people look on Facebook or they look on the website and they're like, what is this ranch? Sorensen Ranch. What is the Georgic schoolroom? They can read like, oh, Gina had this really cool experience. She went and baked pumpkins with Abby. Who's Abby? And then they see that and they get interested because they've seen your experience. So you can do that.
And there's a place on the website.
Yes, there's a place on the website where you can comment and you can review. You can do it. You can also go on Google to Sorensen's Ranch. You can go on Facebook and post the pictures that you had today. And if you want more things that you can do, come talk to me, because there's lots of things that you can do. Also, other students, talk to your students that you came with, and you can share this YouTube video. If you're watching on YouTube, share it with your friends, and the other students, ask them what you can do, and they have lots of ideas as well.
Can you go back to that slide?
Yes, of course, of course. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? You guys are awesome. It makes it so much more meaningful when you build something and you have someone to share it with. So thanks for sharing our success today.
Thank you, Will, Kirsten, Bekah. Bekah number 2. That's an inside joke. Students, come forward. Come stand right here. Okay, I have a gift for these guys, and I have a certificate of completion. And let's give these guys a round of applause. Okay, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to make a couple of announcements, and then I'm going to give them their certificates, And then people can take pictures, and that always gets messy, so that's why I'm making the announcement first. Except I forgot the announcements. I don't know. One thing, there's only one important announcement. There's two. Dinner's around 5-ish, maybe 5:30-ish. As soon as it gets ready, we will let you know. Be around so that when it's ready, you're here to eat, because you don't want to miss out on it. The other thing is, if you have not had time to look at the displays in here, stop talking to your friends and neighbors and new acquaintances and friends, and go read all of these things that the students created. This will help to give you context on what Georgic is, why they came here, and how come they're so cool. We become more human when we read and write. So I'm giving these guys a big writing utensil so they can remember. There you go.
Thank you.
Keep writing if you want to continue to become more human. William, there you go. You graduate. Abigail. This has your initials on it. It must be yours. Who knows what these are? Diddles. Who doesn't know what these are? Almost everybody raised their hand.
Crow came out.
This says Abigail Levi. It actually says AL. And this one, Becky Henderson's. And this one says KJ. For your initial. Demonstrate how you use a dibble. Nobody knows what they are.
When you get some plants, stick them on the ground.
This is a planting tool.
It's a no-till plant, because you can just stick it in the ground. Just like your point right in it.
So I made these as a gift. They didn't know anything about it.
That's awesome.
Pictures. Families, if you want pictures, come get them right now. Whatever you want, come get them. Tell us where you want us to stand. If you want individuals.
It's okay, I'm gonna cut this part out, but. Look at that good bunch of
You
kids.
guys did it.
They're not kids.
I don't believe in the apocalypse. I don't believe in the end of the world. I don't believe in prepping. People should do this stuff anyway. We've been doing this for thousands of years. That's why we teach this stuff. If you're alone on a desert island, you want one of these guys with you.
Civilization builders, that's what you are.
Okay, are we done with pictures?
Thank you.
And now can all of you walk behind the harvest table?
Absolutely.